Hello and welcome back to Warrington Basketball. Today we are joined by Kate Lewis. Kate, how are you?
Very, very hot, as we've just been discussing.
It's a very warm day.
I am sitting by an open window, so I have no idea what noises you're going to hear from outside.
Well, mine have been closed. If I pass out mid-video, then you know why.
I'll just keep on going.
Yeah. So today we're talking about player development, specifically what you guys are doing at England Basketball. But I'll let you introduce yourself first.
Right. I thought it'd be better for me to introduce myself because a lot of people do get a little bit confused about what my role is. I'm a volunteer essentially, who is responsible for chairing the Regional Management Committee in the North West, which hopefully will develop basketball within the region, sort of setting up the volunteer infrastructure to support Basketball England, making sure that we've got a bit more of a strategic sort of direction, bringing people together, because I actually, many moons ago, I actually did this as an employee of Basketball England. So I set up the original system and it was really strong, and then everything went to pot with Basketball England, and I left. So it's nice to be back in the saddle again. There's some brilliant people in the Northwest. Some young uns, as we were talking about.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us sort of, I know obviously we spoke off camera, but there's a lot of stuff happening in the East. I don't know whether or not you sort of want to give a bit of detail of what that is, and then sort of what the future is for the Northwest.
To be fair, that's more kind of Nick Ibbison's role, because he's the regional performance coach for the Northwest, and Basketball England have obviously got the Aspire programme, and there's a lot of stuff that's coming off that across the country, and the East region appear to be doing it in a very particular way, but I know that that's being shared. So in terms of what we're doing in the Northwest at the moment, Nick has been kind of had hold of the reins for the last couple of years when we didn't really have a regional structure. So what we will be doing is hopefully looking at the things that are going on in the East and other good practice around the country, and looking for people to support us in developing it. My big thing about this is that we all essentially want the same thing. Yeah. We want our players to be able to play at whatever level they aspire to play at, as long as they're realistic, because we've all seen the model of there's X number of million young people who want to play in the NBA or the WNBA, and then really there's only X number to pull from. So from my perspective, it's about providing opportunities for girls and boys, men and women, to provide community basketball opportunities if that's all they want to play at, because that's been a bit of an eye-opener for me with the club I run, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, is that it's not always the kids who just want to play in a national league team and and do all that kind of stuff. We've got a lot of kids who play basketball as the third sport, and it's about providing opportunities for them because they just love playing, but they love football better. Or or rugby or whatever, and then obviously then providing pathways for the kids who do want to develop, and it says the name's on the tin, isn't it? Aspire to be the best that they can be, whilst managing their aspirations realistically. I think from my perspective, I will go back to the beginning how I got involved and everything in a minute, but I think from my perspective, we're at quite an exciting stage. My daughter's 15, Cleo. She's a dad's a basketball player as well. She's 6 foot, and she's actually got a really good singing voice, and we thought she was going to go down the singing line, and we were pushing her down the singing line. But she's become really interested in sort of developing basketball, not necessarily as a career, but just seeing where she can go with it. So me and her dad are at the moment, we're looking at sort of the different pathways, in terms of academies and then university links and things like that. And it's interestingly, we were talking about going to the States because every child, every young person's going, oh, we can go to the States, But she's talking about Europe.
Oh,
She's
wow.
interested in going and getting an education in Europe and getting an experience, and she's quite switched on about it. Actually, she's especially for girls, it's much harder. She's quite switched on about it. She's thinking about it from the perspective of a life experience and getting something out of it that way. Because she's a good player, and then seeing what comes out of that. So so it is quite an interesting period, because like all the years I've been involved, it's been very much sort of hit and miss on who you know. If you've got a coach who's got a link in the States, off they go, and that's it. And there's never really been any thought out pathway. But it is getting better. Shall I say a little bit about my background? Because
yes,
some
please.
people might know me. Well, I started basketball at about the same time as most people started basketball of my era. We didn't play it in primary school, so I was 12. And I know it's hard to believe, right? I am 50 next year, right? So I've been involved in this wonderful game for quite a long time. I was very lucky to go to Preston High School, and a lot of the oldies will recognise Preston High School and Tony Whitehead, because at one point I think there was something like about 18 of us who were in the England programme. So it wasn't really that unusual to be in the England programme if you were at Piles, because everyone was, all the girls were. So I played England Juniors, which was a great experience. We also played National League, and I absolutely loved it. Not the most talented player, but I had a really strong work ethic, and I just loved it, and I was coachable as well. But I had a back injury, which is quite unusual for my for that at that age, and I've still got it to this day. So, but I knew I still loved the sport, so I wanted to stay in it. In those days, clubs, if they wanted to enter local league, because there was quite a big women's local league in Merseyside at the time, you had to have a referee. So because I'm the gobby one, I was sent on the referee's course with all the blokes. And I found I really enjoyed it. Some would say it's because I'm a bossy madam. But I just really enjoyed it. I like being part of the game. And again, there was no female referees around then. There was the odd one or two, but nobody really wanted to take it seriously. So I kind of, very quickly kind of sort of climbed the ladder. I was doing, and this is how, this is one of the things I love about refereeing and I love about basketball, is because it's not so different, the system now and then, although it is changing for the better. You used to get appointed to junior games then, so you were the lead referee. So I used to have to travel all over the Northwest. So at that point, I was probably early 20s, and I was traveling all over the place, and I was learning so much from so many different referees, so many different coaches as well, because you've got to be, as a young referee, although the referees can be supportive of you in terms of, your development, it's actually more coaches and players and stuff like that who kind of give you feedback about, and also the key thing as well is it's about your personality and developing your style and stuff. I got on quite well, and I was refereeing right until I stopped. I was refereeing, sort of went up to BBL. Part of it, I think, is because I'm not like, on court, although some people may argue, I'm not the big I am when I'm on court. I like having a laugh with the players, I like having a joke, you know what I mean? And I'll admit if I've made a mistake, if I've just missed something, I'll go, I'm really sorry I missed that, that kind of thing. But for me, refereeing, I just absolutely adored it. It was, I've been all over the place with it. It's just, and it was my social life and everything. But the main reason I loved it so much is I was part of the game. You know what I mean? It's like, there is nothing like it. You know what it's like as a player when, when you're in, the final 30 seconds and the game's tied, or, the one down or whatever. Well, being a referee in that situation is probably even more exciting than it is as a player. Because you have such a big responsibility to do the right thing for the game at that time. And you're like that, except for the fact you've got to be like that, all that kind of stuff. And I just love it. And the banter and the laugh. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've had some horrendous experiences as a female referee. Thankfully things have moved on now, and we have got like a lot of female referees now, like Kate Unsworth and stuff like that. Apparently I run her very first level 1 referees course.
Oh, really?
So the likes of Simon Unsworth, or Lemlock, or Walton, they were my babies. Steve Ferris, I used to drive them around the Northwest and all over to Sheffield and everything. I was like their mum So, you know, I used to go and pick them up in Manchester because I live on the Wirral. Go and pick them up in Manchester, drive them over to the game. I was like the senior referee. They were only like 19, 20 at the time. And my boys, I love them. They're really good lads, and they remain to, and what I like about it is they're still giving back to the game.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that was kind of my refereeing career. And, you know, I'm still really into it, except I had a bit of an accident and I can't referee anymore. But whilst I was doing that, I was also quite heavily involved in developing the Merseyside League.
Yeah.
And I was a primary school teacher. And basketball was always my first love. And a job came up with Basketball England. This was about 20 years ago. Feels like a lifetime. And honestly, the best job I've ever had in my life. I loved it. It was a really good team at the time. Most people probably won't know them, but you know, we had like Steve Darlow at that time was a really top player, Mandy Collard, Steve Alexander, Steve Nelson was our national manager. He's one of Britain's best ever players, and we were like a proper tight crew. Yeah. And absolutely loved it. And the Northwest are fantastic. And we've got some wonderful, wonderful people in this region, and we really, really pulled together to get some really good stuff done, like the Millennium Youth Games. I had money. So at one point I had 5 development officers in each county, and we were able to do stuff. It was starting to come together.
Yeah.
And it was great. Really, really enjoyed it. And that's how I know quite a lot of, well, older people, the older coaches and stuff, through a combination of refereeing and also because of my work with Basketball England. Mm-hmm. At that time, I'll be honest with you, it wasn't like a job. It was almost like, it sounds a bit naff, but like a vocation, you know what I mean? Because it's just sport. Well, you work it centre, don't you? So, you just love it. It's just what you do, you know, and not, you know, you turn up without, you know, give me a little bit of money to live on, that'd be fine. I'd do it anyway, you know.
Yeah, I've never considered it a job either. It is just
it's just, it's like, you know, some people feel like that about teaching and medicine and stuff like that, but, you know, it's the people, it's the community, it's, you know, the club I've got now, I mean, I'll come back to this later, it's just, for me, on a busy Saturday, and I'm watching referees on the floor that we've trained, I'm watching table officials tabling that we've trained, I'm watching a gym full of parents watching, and I'm watching our kids play that have been with us for, you know, since the beginning, and I'm like, and I just like, you know, I love it. I'm a bit sad, really. I need to get a life. Anyway, so when I was working Basketball England at that time, it was horrendous. The chief exec resigned. Another chief exec was appointed who already worked for the organisation. I'm not naming names, people will know who I mean if they were around at that time. And the person didn't have any respect for development and stopped us travelling, stopped our budgets, everything. I mean, there's quite you know, he had a job to do, and it's quite a difficult time financially for the governing body and such like that. But most of us left because it made it impossible for us to do our job. I mean, I did for a period of time do it on no travelling expenses, and I was paying for them myself. I was going up and down, you know, Cumbria to Crewe is basically the distance I was travelling. But you know, and about that time I met my ex-partner, Claire's dad, Garnet. So I used that time I moved over to Sheffield, and I got probably another one of the jobs I'm really passionate about was Partnership Development Manager, School Sport Partnership. They're still around now, but they're slightly different, and that was brilliant. But it opened my eyes because I saw how other sports worked as well, and that was really interesting because we managed all sports. But I just had enough of basketball, totally at that point. You know, it had been my life. I lived it, breathed it, socialised it. And also, Garnet and I decided to have Cleo. So I just thought, you know, I quit refereeing. I just needed a complete break from basketball. And it did me good, to be honest. Still working in sport all that time. I was then promoted. I was sports strategy advisor for Sheffield. So I was involved quite a senior level with Sheffield City Council with sport. So it was leading up to the Olympics and everything. So it was brilliant. So used to have all the major events and the training camps in Sheffield. So I've been very, very lucky, to be honest. And then I had my son, just arrived, shall we say. And I decided to come back home and live near my family. So I've now got 2 kids, and I decided to take some time off because I didn't really have any time off with Cleo when she was a baby, and I had Georgie. So took some time off and ended up getting sucked back into basketball. I did a little bit with Sefton Stars, which I quite enjoyed. That was nice getting back into things. And then we came, John Lavery, who was at Phoenix. We've all known each other for years. You know what basketball is like. It's like a family, isn't it? Everyone knows everyone, and they fight and they argue and don't speak to each other for ages and all this kind of stuff. But it was like one of those weird sort of, you know, when it's all going to happen and it all comes together and it's right. We ended up having a coffee because not seen him for ages, and then with Mike and Baye as well from Liverpool, and we were just saying, you know, we should set up our own club, you know. And at that time, I was looking at different venues for Sefton, because Sefton was based up in North Liverpool, but there was no basketball really in South Liverpool. So I went to Phil McLaughlin. He and I had come up with it. Well, he identified that, because I'm from the Wirral, that there was this venue in Liverpool that was being built. So I went over to meet with the school and we got the venue, so St Hilda's. So we're in there full time now. But then I broke my leg quite badly. I was in hospital for a while. So I set up the club from my hospital bed downstairs in the living room. But it's been the best thing I've done.
And that was Mersey Mavericks?
Yeah, Mersey Mavericks, yeah. So there's a really good crew of us, all oldies really. So, but we're all putting a bit back now. This is how we see it. So there's John Lavery, there's me, Paul Parry, Manor Elliott, Colin Rivet. Hopefully another very famous coach is coming our way soon, but I can't announce that yet. We're still talking terms, like, you know, how much we're not going to pay him. You know what I mean? Convince him it's the right thing to do. But we've gone from having, God, how many? Well, we went dead ambitious, and we like opened up when we had men's and women's and all this kind of stuff. And then we quickly realised we actually just wanted to do juniors, and we wanted to put all our time and effort into juniors. So that's what we've done. So this season we're going in with 2 under-16s, 2 under-14s boys, and under-12s mixed, 14s and 16 girls. So yeah, we're at capacity now. So yeah, and we just love it. Obviously, this has been really quite traumatic, and everyone who's watching this will know how it's been. Both on, I'm quite open. I've suffered with mental health issues over the years, and one of the things that keeps me sane is the time and the rewards I get back for putting the time into basketball. Keeps me sane, basically, because I'm busy all the time and my head's busy with all the fun things that we do, and you know, and I found it very, very, very difficult, because it's, you know, they're like family. You know, we've been with these kids and their families, you know, 4 years now, and we are quite a tight knit club, like most clubs are. But we, you know, we feel really tight knit, and you know, we don't just, you know, it's the families as well as just the kids, and it's been horrible. Horrible. I'm worried sick about the more vulnerable kids. We all know in our clubs we've got, you know, the vulnerable kids who need that, who are at basketball because we're a safe space, and we're worried sick about them. We're worried sick about the families who I know are struggling. You know, it's been absolutely horrible. Horrible.
This is part of the reason why this channel was born, to be fair. It was a way of keeping in touch with everyone and still sort of having a bit of involvement in basketball as much as we can do. But,
I mean, it's, you know, this is one of the reasons I was quite happy to do it, because obviously I've watched a couple of them, and it is about keeping in touch. And I bid for money to, because you know what basketball clubs are like, and it's like, you know, we live hand to mouth. Any money we get is like goes back into the club and is to, you know, to develop things. So you know, I apply for funding and things like that, and so we're always by the seat of our pants, and we've always got enough to pay the bills. But this side knocked us to 6 because of the fact that we use summer, and everyone who's in the club now sitting there going, the summer to income generate. So, you know, we don't have as much outgoings going out, but we've still got our incomes, and it's just been horrible. But luckily we've got a grant, and one of the things from Sports England, COVID money, one of the things that was really useful about doing that bid was it made me really think about what we needed to do, because it was important to keep in touch with our kids and our families, because we didn't want them to think ever that there wasn't going to be anything to come back to, because that's like you lose your hope then, don't you? And for
course.
a lot of our kids, I know what I was like at 15, all I thought about was basketball, maybe boys as well, but, you know, basketball mainly. You know, and for some of them, it's like they live and breathe it, and, you know, so it's about hope, and that's what Sport England are asking actually, is how to keep in touch. So this is a really good method. We've done things like Coaches Challenge and stuff like that. But obviously, leading on to the sort of the Northwest job's been up a couple of times since I've been back involved in basketball. The first time it was up and Tom took it. I was asked if I wanted to apply for it then. Sort of not said, would you do the job? It was more like, you know, would you be interested in putting an application in? And I wasn't very well at the time. I just had, I had quite a nasty accident with my leg and broke my leg, and I was laid up for a very long time with it. And it wasn't the right time. And then obviously when Tom stepped down, you know, I was asked again, do you want to put an application in? You know, like I'm sure lots of other people were. And I went and had a chat with them, because I've seen Basketball England evolve and morph into what it is now. And I wasn't going to put all my time and effort into working alongside BE if I didn't think it was going to work, basically. I'd rather put the time into my club, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But one of the reasons I did do sort of apply was, well, two reasons really. One, as a club, you know, as a club, somebody who runs a club, I was getting more and more frustrated about the lack of coordination within the region.
Yeah.
And just simple stuff like, let's all say who needs to go on a level 2 coaching course, and let's run a system of, you know, so everyone can access a coaching course. You know, competition does my head in. You know, we've had to, some of our kids shouldn't be playing National League, but they want to play competitive basketball.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want to play community. They want to play competitive, but they're maybe not strong. But we have to put them in there because there's nowhere else on Merseyside to play. There's no, like, I know it's a bit better now because we've done the regional leagues and everything, but that was another source of frustration, that we didn't work together as a region to look at what we needed.
Yeah.
So that was one reason. Then the other reason, I went up for my interview, and David Butler, who's left now, and David Dunwell, who's the link, they thought they were going to interview me. But I was like, right, let's just start. You know, if I'm going to put any time into this, you know, and I'm successful, I need to understand that what, you know, that we're on the same lines, because I don't necessarily like being told what to do. That sounds stroppy, but what I really strongly believe, and I said this at the beginning, was that we've got so much talent in the region. Right, and I don't just mean basketball. I don't mean actual on the court talent. I mean people who know what they're doing to get the best out of the different bits of the game. And that's the problem, you see. That hasn't been pulled together for a long time. And what I didn't want to do, and in fact, I've had this discussion a couple of weeks ago as well with someone else. It was that what I didn't want is Basketball England to say, right, these are the targets. This is what you have to do in the region. La 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 la.
Yeah.
What I wanted to do is much more of a joined up approach, where we say, right, okay, because BE did all those road shows, didn't they, about, you know, developing a strategic plan. I don't know how many people have actually read the strategic plan in Northwest. I have, and I know it, right? And I trust that the work has been put in from BE to go around and do all these road shows, so we know what the key priorities are in the game. So like girls, coaching, officiating, increased participation. So I know that work's been done, right? And if people didn't bother the backsides to go along to the consultation meeting or send an email in, well, they haven't got a right to complain if they don't like what's in the plan, right? Yeah. So we've got this plan, this national plan. Now, my job is to say, right, okay, what bits of that plan are appropriate to us in the Northwest? And say, right, okay, Basketball England, we reckon, so all girls, you know, obviously it's about ambassadors, it's about increasing numbers of coaches and referees, it's about just generally increasing participation amongst girls. How are we going to do that in the region? So they're not going to come to us and say, right, you have to have X number of girls and you have to have X number of this. And we as a region will work with them to turn around and say, well, actually, realistically, if we run this, if we do that, if we do this, we can get you X number of female coaches who aren't just done a course, but they're actually now being mentored and are now coaching regularly. So that's my job as the chair. So, and the way we've set it up, I'm very, very keen that, yeah, I am a bossy boots. But my strength is, I hope, is the fact that I try and get people to work together.
Yeah.
And equally, I've said this to BE as well, we as regions, we need to be strong and turn around and say, actually, that doesn't work for us.
Yeah.
So, the East are obviously very strong at bits of things. West Midlands are very strong at different things. But, in art, we might be crying out for, I don't know, competition, just off the top of my head, like lower level junior competition. So we need to be strong enough as a region to be able to say that. And the only way I can do that is by getting engaged with as many people as possible.
Yeah.
So that's why there's the regional management group, which I chair. And then we've, underneath that, there's a number of subgroups which basically link to the strategic plan. It's very boring, this, isn't it? But it will be interesting, probably.
Yeah.
So basically, you've got your coaching group, your officiating group. So I've been wheedling around the scenes. People have had lots of opportunity to get involved in the different groups, but the door is not shut. So if anybody's watching this and is interested in developing any of the areas or anything, just get in touch with me. I will not close the door on anyone.
Yeah.
And basically, what's going to happen in each of those groups is we're going to look at the national plan and decide what our targets are for the Northwest. I'm good at bid writing. So things like, at the moment, I'm looking at the COVID money that's swimming around. And we're trying really hard behind the scenes. I've got Divya and Andrea Garland who sort of chair, and we're chair, secretary and treasurer. I like the fact there's 3 girls. That's good, isn't it? We're going to we'll try to set up bank accounts quick so I can apply for some funding, because I thought what would be really useful is if I could get a load of IT equipment, like media equipment, style equipment, that could do the things that you're doing, that could be loaned out throughout the region to use for CPD, for media stuff, to go and use for coaching, film and coaching, get the software to go with that, all that kind of stuff. Then that's there for the resource for the region. And that's what I want to try and do with the rest of it. Things are changing a little bit as well with funding from BE. So we'll be able to bid in for funding as well from BE for things. So, but in order for us to do that, it's about, we've got to be clear what it's for. So I can't have, I've got to be careful what a name is. Eunice, I've just got that. Eunice coming to me and go, Kate, I would like to have some money for a basketball camp. And my first question will be, how does it contribute to the strategy of the region? And if it doesn't, sorry, Eunice, but if you were having a girls' camp, do you know what I mean? So that's the kind of thing we're looking at doing. It sounds really nerdy and boring, but it's really not, because there's some great people around the region who we're working with, and we actually have a laugh. And the thing is, the good thing about this now is, bloody hell, I was driving to Manchester, when we were setting this up, and I was a pain in the arse, all this travelling and stuff. But now we've got Zoom. So now we can have all those Zoom meetings. So all those people who go, I'm not getting involved, just can't be arsed driving. We have Zoom now. So no more excuses, people. So, so there's that. And then obviously another element to that is the performance side that Nick is responsible for. And obviously me and Nick are team. I've known Nick since was a bobber, because obviously he's been involved in girls basketball forever. But really as well, it's about working alongside the other regions as well, and sort of basically stealing all the good stuff that they're doing, and the stuff that they've found doesn't work, we'll just ignore that. So it's basketball, isn't it? I just want it. It's not. I just want it to be as good as it can be for the kids. Do you know what I mean? It needs to be better. Basically, I'm putting my head in.
Has to be. So what would be your advice for the grassroots, so the Warrington League, for example, so the Warrington Basketball League, and then for the coaches within, so the clubs that we've got within Warrington Basketball?
Right, okay. So one of the things I'd first ask you to consider is licensing with BE. Right, and that's not because it's I am the BE chair, and I am trying to sort of get everyone on board. There's a very good reason for it. If you are licensed with BE, it means you can access the BE programs.
Yeah.
So I would like to work closer with the centre, because we are blessed. How many? We've got 4.
Yeah.
4, isn't there? Yeah. So if I could work with all 4, I think we could do something really special, particularly around coach development of girls programs. I know you've got netball in there, but basketball's better.
It is great.
It's exactly, you know what I mean? So it's looking at that really. It's how we can work together and accessing resources that you can only access if you're part of the BE program. Yeah. I will be honest with you, our whole club isn't licensed. It might be in the future. I don't know if anyone from BE is watching this, but there is a reason for that, and that's because I will only license if I think I'm getting value for money for something.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to pay for National League, no problem at all, because we get, I would say, a good service. Some would disagree with that, but on my behalf, as a club, we've had pretty good service right the way along. So well done, Gail. I had a massive issue last year, not with National League, but just with a general last-minute rule change. And even with that, it was all dealt with very professionally and stuff. So I've got no problem with paying for a service for National League. Yeah. Equally, I've no problem with licensing all of my coaches, because I know they will have access. You've got to, because of, you know, insurance and quality control and all that kind of stuff. I've got no problem with that at all. But in our recreation pay and play sessions for the kids, I'm like, you know, why, especially in the area we're in, I don't know where some of your centres are, why would I license them if they're not going to get anything? They can't really afford to pay subs, as it were, in our case sometimes. So why would I put an extra financial thing on them? But having said that, it's going to be changing a little bit. So it means that, you know, if we do have clubs who haven't licensed before, but then licensed, they will have access to sort of resources, sort of projects, things like that. Because this, and I want it to all try and come together. I just think a good partnership between the centres is just the way forward. Because you've got these amazing facilities. Some of them need a bit of a clean, because it's been open for quite a long time now. But they're brilliant. I haven't got a bad word to say against them. You do a really good job in getting referees started. Yeah, you get a really good job of getting, you know, coaches started. But what we'd really like to do is sort of work with you, and not just you either. Manchester, you know, Manchester Basketball Centre. Look at where we've got these big populations of players, coaches, referees and stuff, where we make sure, you know, if little Johnny and little Jane start playing in your centre, that we make sure that they're clear about what their route is into any pathway that they want to do, whether that be playing, coaching, officiating, whatever. And the only way we can do that really is by us all coming together. Yeah. Now, I know I've been saying this for 20 odd years, and I'll have to be honest with you, egos, and I know this has been mentioned in previous things, egos is a huge barrier to us moving forward. Yeah. Right. I'll be honest with you, I ain't got time for it. I haven't. So I know there's a lot of good people around who may have problem with other people and stuff, but you know, you get over it. Yeah. We've got things to do with basketball, and the only way we're going to do it is by putting issues you have with other people, or Basketball England even, and suck it up, buttercup, and get on with it. Yeah. You know, it's like the whole thing. I'm quite active on Facebook. I have to be very careful because I've had to sign an agreement with Basketball England to watch what I put on Facebook. But I will sort of defend things on both sides when I feel appropriate. And I do think that with that, some people are that caught up with this whole BE have been crap for, excuse my language, for so long that they're not very good now. They actually, I mean, I'm not on the inside because, you know, I do find out some information before everybody else does. But I have been looking quite closely at the different things that have been going on and the employees and what they're doing and stuff like that. And I have to say, hands on heart, it looks good. It's much, much, much more professional than I've ever seen it. I know Stuart Kellett. I used to work with him a long time ago. He was at Lancashire Sport. And I knew when he started he'd do a good job. I didn't think it'd take him this long, but he's had an uphill battle, and he still has an uphill battle because people are still holding historical grudges against Basketball England.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, really. And they've got some really outstanding people involved who want to make it happen. And I think rather than just going on about all the bad things that people perceive, it needs to be more positive. So
it's easy to blame England basketball as well, isn't it? So it's, it's a bit of an escape.
In some respects, it's like, it's fair enough. I have to say, people going on about it, with the return to play stuff, my attitude is, right, I got it out. And I'll be honest with you, I read it and I was quite upset when I read it. Because I was thinking, how the hell are we going to make this work? And my instant reaction was like, bloody hell, And then I thought to myself, well, actually, it's actually a really, really good piece of work because it gives you a framework of the worst case scenario of the things that we're going to have to do to get back. And as long as you look at it like that and realise that how they've written that in the situation they're in at the moment, when literally, I think there's been another statement that's come out today, literally knowing that Bojo could come on the telly tomorrow at 4:00 in the afternoon and turn around and say, right, all sports halls are now open on, he said August the 7th or something like that, I can't remember. All sports halls are now open on Monday morning, and you're allowed 12 people in. And then BE have got to respond to that. That's what's been happening. They don't get any sort of pre-warning. It's like they hear it when everybody else does. So I think they've done a pretty good job. And I think what people need to do is just try not to get too upset about it, because I did, but realise that we've got to just use common sense with this and support each other. So if people have got some really good ideas about how they're managing stuff, do it. Nick Ibbison's been testing the outdoor stuff, with the guidance. But he's if anybody's interested, get in touch with me or Nick, because he's actually put it out into practice, and he's done things from right down to the letters to the parents, to tell the parents what they have to do and bring, and the fact that they can't be a part of it because then it becomes a bigger group of 6. They can lurk in the park, but they can't actually stay. Do you know what I mean? And it's bring your own water boss. He's done it that level of detail, and I'm happy to share. I've sent an email out to everybody who's on my database, and I've had one person ask for the information. That's it, one person, and there's 100 odd people on that. I understand people, it's not the priority at the moment, but the information's there, the hub's there. We need to kind of have that attitude rather than going, I'm not showing anyone. So that's Lola. She sounds like she's a massive scary beast, which is pathetic, really. So yeah, it's just general, isn't it? It's like sport. It's like people just get really hot and bothered about the governing bodies, and if they're not complaining about that, they complain about something else. But I've had many years of it now. I just, I work with BE, and equally I'll challenge BE if they're not doing what I think is right for our region, because our region's like my priority, if you see what I mean. And because of the nature of the people who've got working there now, they'll listen. They will listen. So, got to get on board. People have got to get on board.
Yeah, from doing these, obviously, the more we've done, the more everyone's sort of singing the same tune in terms of they want to sort of club together. Obviously, knock the egos on the head a little bit, and it's looking bright in terms of where we're going. So it's exciting. I can't wait to get back, to be fair, and start seeing what happens, stuff like that. We had I went and had a meeting with David Dunlop.
He's a good guy.
Maybe like a couple of weeks before all this happened, so it's kind of. It
was because he asked me. I'd been somewhere else that morning. We just met with someone else that morning, in Lancashire, and he said to me he was going to see you after, but I had to get back to the school run. I'm on with 2 kids. So but I wanted to meet with you because I just think. I tried to work with the centres years ago when Mr. Loxton was around, and I used to meet with him quite a lot, but we never really got very far because at that time it was like very much like the top of BE didn't want to talk to the top of them and all that, but I don't feel like that anymore with the
I had a similar conversation with David, and said, like, obviously I know we've kind of not been against it or worked against each other, but just never really had much of a relationship, and it was kind of like, oh no, we're doing our own thing.
Well, you didn't have anyone to have a relationship with.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and he actually said, he was like, "Oh, well, I've been appointed to obviously to build that sort of relationship and stuff like that." So,
Yeah. He's a good lad. To be honest, there's him, and he's furloughed at the moment. There's quite a lot of them off. But the way Stuart's done it is apparently, if you furloughed by a particular date, you can bring them in and out as different things need doing.
right. Okay.
So I know that. I mean, there's loads of stuff they've been doing when they're off. I mean, I didn't know all this. It was just I had an officiating meeting for the Northwest with Simon and Paul Walton and Chris Ogden and Sean. And they were just explaining some of the stuff they've been doing behind the scenes. They've got an online level 1. He's going to kill me now because I've like sort of there's an online level 1 table official and referees course and statisticians course that they're just fine tuning. It's absolutely brilliant. It's what they've been doing. They've obviously got the level 2 coaching that they're doing online. There's all the stuff that we've been asking for and they've wanted to do for donkey's years. Now that obviously they can't get out and do anything and they're working from home, they're doing all this stuff to modernise it, and it's really, really good.
We've been sharing the online courses and stuff like that. It's really, really beneficial, especially for the younger guys that are, or even we've got a few parents that have been helping out with the really, really young ones, and obviously for them it's a massive help having the online.
Well, we've been trying to have we've got Sam. Hi, Sam. We watch this. Sam's 18 and he's absolute. He's one of those young lads who just he's like us. Who's like, that's it. They're going to be in it forever and they live and breathe it, and that's it. He's absolutely wonderful lad. I first knew him when he was a player when he was like 13, and he's now he was 18 last November. We were trying to get him on a level 2 for ages. He's also a referee and he's a really great lad. But we couldn't have him doing National League because he wasn't quite 18, and we were desperate to get him a level 2 this summer. And he was just like, "I won't be able to coach, will I, this season?" And I was like, "You won't, because you haven't got level 2. I'll have to travel around and sit on the bench with you." And but luckily the level 2 online, and he's been giving us some feedback on it, and he said it's absolutely brilliant. He said he's on it with Martin Ford. But they go off into little different groups and things like that. But it's been really well thought out. Sports Structures are doing it, I think, which is Simon Kirkland, who's one of he used to be CEO of Warrington Basketball. But it's it's good. It's good. But people just need to give them a chance. You know what I mean? And if there's something you're not happy about, or let's rephrase that, because there's loads of stuff I'm not happy about, and it's just because I'm miserable sometimes. But if there's something that you're sitting there thinking, well, you know what? That could be done a bit better if we did this. Don't just sit there. Do something about it. So get in touch with me. Get in touch with someone from David Dunwell's furloughed at the moment. Good timing actually, because his wife has just had a little baby, so he's having some nice time at home. But just get in touch with me, or Sam Lewis is covering our region at the moment. He's very good. But I say it's not. This isn't meant to be a BE advert. You know what I mean? It's not. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just trying to say, give up with the moaning about PE, because they're doing the best, and we as a basketball community have a responsibility to help make things better. If we want to make things better, we can't just sit there and bitch about it.
We'll make sure all your details are put in with the description of the video and stuff. So if
that'd be great. Honestly, anybody who's got any questions, just get in touch. And if you want to be involved, I mean, I'm really pleased that when I put out the initial shout out, that we were getting people from local league clubs who, but I'll tell you about Darren from Lancaster Lions, sorry, which I told you I was. I would never have met him at all, right? But I think he saw something on social media about the initial meeting and everyone coming together and to get in touch if they felt they could offer anything. So anyway, he's the guy doing the comm stuff. And we had this really good conversation. Because he's not involved in the National League programme and the National League setup and all of the politics and everything that goes wrong, he sat there and he's asking me all these really sensible questions about why things are like they are in the Northwest. And I was like, we need more people who haven't been involved in the sort of the daily grind that's been going on for years and years and years in basketball, which means we always do the same things in the same way because we've always done them like that. We need people with like fresh ideas, and parents, but Dan's a coach in this club, and he's set up a men's club, and he's got 30 men coming along now from nothing. Do you know what I mean? We need people who don't look at it in the same way as we do. And it's like, you know, oh, great, we've got a group of kids, we'll go into the National League. You know, we need people who've got different ideas about basketball. It's the only way we're going to make things better, improve it.
Yeah.
So, as much as I love all the old faces, and I do love you all, you know, it's nice to see some fresh faces as well.
Yeah. I think I want to get Darren's details off you. Off camera, we'll.
Yeah, that's great. He's brilliant, actually. I loved it. I loved the conversation. He really like lifted me, because I was like, really, you know, and because he was like, we can do this, we can do that, we can do this, and I'm like, that's what I want to hear, you know. So
yeah, it's looking good. I think.
Hope so.
You know, it's going in the right direction, and hopefully, assuming everyone does sort of buy into it, which I think from what we've seen so far, people are obviously more concerned now about the development of the kids in basketball in general, as opposed to just individuals wanting to look good. So it's exciting. I'm looking forward to.
You need to do this in a year. 26th of June, 21. We'll be back again. Hopefully it won't be this hot, because I am literally melting, and I am drooling at the thought of the beer that's in the fridge at the moment. Is it too early?
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Never too early. Yeah, so in a year's time, you can like grill me on. Right, Kate.
We'll book in the diary. Yeah. So it's happened. All right. Well, yeah. Thank you very much for coming on, Kate. We do really appreciate it.
No, I've enjoyed it. I love talking basketball.
We'll have to get you on for some other bits as well. So we do some other little coaches call.
Before you go, one of the things I've been talking about doing is I put something on Facebook. I don't know if you saw it on the Northwest. BE are doing these almost like seminars. They're like closed ones. So I was on it the other day with a club development one. So I wasn't with the regional hat or anything. It was just about maths. And there was like me, and there was like really like Russell Levinson from Riders was on. And then there was who else? There was a few others, and then there was a guy who really sort of started the club up from scratch, didn't have any experience beforehand. It was a really good mix of people, and it was an hour long, and I learned so much from it. And I've got a fair bit of experience, and it was absolutely brilliant. So that's going to go live on they're going to do edited it apparently. Well, I hope so, because I was like, so that's going to go out at some point. But what I'd like to do is do something similar for our region. So I've got a couple of clubs who've said yes, they'd like to get it, because I think it'd be really useful for the clubs in your centre as well.
Definitely.
You know, the teams and stuff. So there's a couple of real mix of clubs who've come to me and said they'd be interested in doing it. And other things like volunteer development as well, coach development, play, like the stuff that East have been doing they had 100 coaches on, didn't they, at that workshop? So
really
you know, stuff like that. So that's what I want to get, where we want to get to with it.
Count us in, just have me as your point of contact, and then I can go out to all the clubs that we've got here. And
that'd be brilliant.
Get involved.
If you can get them signed up on the database, mate, can I just have an advert for that? Because of GDPR, I can't directly contact any club or person who hasn't signed up on to my lovely little form thing. Said easy, it takes about 30 seconds to fill in. And all I'm asking for is sort of your contact details and what you actually do within basketball, so we can tailor it and things. We've got about 110 people signed up, but there's like clearly a lot of people missing. You know, my address book is far bigger than that. It's really important, because we get accused of not sharing information with people. When I say we, I mean this is with my regional chair Basketball England hat on. I can't share it if I don't know who's out there who hasn't, you know, sort of, and I can't go around chasing everybody. So it's parents as well. We've had parents come forward saying, "Oh, I'm interested in doing this, I'm interested in doing that," because they've been on that sort of database. So, and I will be doing like weekly updates, or maybe bi-weekly, just say what I've been doing, because I think it's important. So so that's my ad.
That's absolutely fine. We'll definitely get involved. Again, thank you very much. It's now thunder and lightning outside here, so we've missed the sun. So I do
only Wirral here, darling. It never rains on the Wirral.
Well, Costa
I'll wait for it to come over.
Thank you very much, Kate. We'll catch up again soon.
Okay, take care. Thank you very much.
Thank you.